We are continuing our reading through the book of Genesis with Genesis 15. We are that far along, and we are in the middle of the story of Abram. I am Boluke Olayale, and you are reading through the Bible with me. So let's jump right on in as we continue reading through the book of Genesis. So where did we leave off? We left off with Abram and his nephew Lot. You guys remember? And Abram had to go rescue Lot. And then there was the king Melchizedek. You guys remember him? And Abram offered him the first time a tithe was mentioned in the Bible. Abram offered him a tithe. And Melchizedek blessed Abram. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies. It was a clear demonstration that Abram was not alone in the fight, right, in his rescuing of Lot. And it was also clear that God received his tithe, right? You guys remember a time when there was a young man by the name of Cain who gave a sacrifice, and God was like, oh no, that is so not okay. You can do better, right? But when Abram gave his offering, his tithe, to God, God accepted it. So we're going to continue reading in chapter 15. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision and said to him, do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you and your reward will be great. Mind you, God had already protected him. God had fought on his behalf, right? Defeated his enemies, and God had blessed him. So it almost seems like God is saying it again and again. You know, we're humans and we need that repetition. So God is giving this repetition. But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you've given me no children, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit all my wealth. You have given me no descendant of my own, so one of my servants will be my heir. Oh my goodness, heir. I said with an H. So is this not real? I mean, do you ever feel like this? Like God is blessing you and God is good and God is amazing. And then you're looking at the circumstance of your life and you're like, God, you promised me certain things. I don't see it. And you know, God is not afraid or offended or upset when his children tell him, like, I believed you when you said we're going to Disneyland, but like, I don't see us packing for this trip. When are we going to Disneyland? But Abram is talking about something much more serious, more dire. Back in those days, not having an heir, not having a child, specifically a son, really meant something. And he wasn't just talking about like status, right? Oh, people are not looking, or they're not respecting me in the town. It wasn't anything like that. It was simply, well, I'm sure there was a bit of that too, but at least in his conversation with God, it was about the fact that I'm going to leave all my wealth. He's getting old, even at this age, right? I'm going to leave all my wealth to somebody else's kid, to my servant. Not even Lot. Like Lot's not even mentioned, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to leave all my wealth to my nephew. His wealth is going to be left to his household to be cared for. And the only person in his household, the highest status person, the closest one to him, like a son, is this servant Eliezer from Damascus. Why did he mention Damascus? I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason for that. Every detail in the Bible is important, by the way. Even if you don't know why it's important. It's important. It's there for a reason. But Abram is having this really serious conversation with God. Like, you're coming to me again. Like, I didn't go seeking you. You sought me. You made a covenant, a suzerainty. You guys remember that word? You made a suzerainty covenant with me. And now you're coming back to tell me that you're blessing me. You already told me you were going to bless me. You told me that I would have children as numerous as the stars in the sky. But I don't have a kid at all. So Help me understand. Let's continue. Then the Lord said to him, no, no, that is not the plan. Your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own who will be your heir. Then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have. This is the second time God is telling him this. Abram remembered the first time. That's why he told God, like, you made me a promise. I didn't even ask you to make me a promise, but you made me a promise. And there's no child. So, all right. So, second time, God tells him to look in the sky. Your descendants will be that numerous. And this is the thing. Abram believed the Lord. Again, he believed him the first time, he held him to it, so he's believing him again. And the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Now, I want to pause a little bit before we keep going, because there's a wording in here that I think later confused maybe his wife Sarah. I'm thinking a little bit too to Eve's deception. But there's a bit of a wording in here that I think Sarah, when she heard it, may have interpreted it a certain way. So God said to Abram, you will have a son of your own who will be your heir. But he didn't say of Sarah. So we'll see later how Sarah decides to fix that part, because, well, God said he'll be yours, but he didn't say he would be mine. So maybe we could help God along. We'll get to that soon. But here we go. Then the Lord told him, Abram, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans. Remember, that's where Abram was found with his dad, to give you this land as your possession. But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, sovereign. Do we ever call God sovereign? You are so big and mighty. You honestly can do anything. You are sovereign. You answer to no one. I'm teaching my nieces and nephews how to pray. And you guys may have heard the ACTS model of praying. You don't have to pray like this. It just makes it a lot easier to have a format, especially when you get lost. Like, what do I say in a prayer? And the A stands for adoration. And the question is like, what do I say to adore God? You state his characteristics. And sovereign is an amazing, it's like a big characteristic, because you can call no one else sovereign. I know we call, some people refer to kings and queens as sovereign. They are not sovereign, maybe over their kingdom, but we have the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, right? And Abram recognized that right away, and he referred to him for a second time as sovereign Lord. You, I trust, can literally do anything you want. So with that, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it? Because here God is saying, I'm the Lord who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession. Remember, Abram has been a wanderer, a tent dweller. He's been camping in tents in Canaan because God told him that is where you will be. This is your land. The Canaanites are simply warming up the seat for you, but this is your land, right? So Abram has now shifted from talking about the son and his children. I believed you. Yeah, God, we're good. He's not questioning whether God will give him a child. He's like, how am I going to possess this land? Okay, you settled the matter on the son. Okay, how am I going to possess this land? The Lord told him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. So Abram presented all these to God, and he killed those things, right? There's a certain way of doing sacrifices. That's not something we're familiar with nowadays, but the expectation is that Abram did it, slaughtered these animals in just the right way. Okay, so Abram presented all these to him, our sovereign Lord, and killed them. Then he cut each animal down the middle. Ooh, we get an illustration for those who are really visual. And by the middle, I'm thinking this way. There's a few other ways of doing middle, but I think it was down this way. Okay. And laid the halves side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. Some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, but Abram chased them away. This is the Lord. You better not touch his food. My visual. As the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep. Does this sound familiar to you? Who else fell into a deep sleep? We're only, what, 20 generations from Adam? So Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came down over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. You can be certain that your descendants will be strangers. One, you'll have descendants, because I clarified that for you. And two, they're going to be strangers in a foreign land where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them. And in the end, they will come away with great wealth. As for you, you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age. After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction." I can't kill them yet. They haven't done enough bad things for me to wipe them out, but it's coming. And I've got to wait until then because I'm a just God, okay? I follow my own rules. Did you guys catch that? Before Abraham had a single child, God told him about Joseph and Egypt and the slavery and Moses. I think most people miss that. God told Abram before any of it ever happened. His assurance, when Abram asked for assurance, how do I know I'm going to possess this land? God says, let me tell you the future. You are not going to possess it at all. I'm making a promise to you that you will never see. But your children will. And that's after 400 years of being slaves. What? How many of you guys will continue following this God if he told you that? Who's raising their hand? You're not going to possess the United States of America. I don't know, name a state. California. You're not going to possess this land. But your children will. A long time from now, they're going to be slaves for 400 years. And after they're slaves, 4 generations, they will possess this land. Oh, okay, sure. Sovereign Lord who can do anything you want. What a faith. After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abram that day and said, "I have given this land to your descendants, all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River, the land now occupied by the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaites, Amorites. We talked about the sins of the Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites." This was a second suzerainty covenant, because, did you hear it? God simply said, "I've given it to you." What's Abram's part in this covenant? None. Absolutely nothing. And guess who walked through the blood of the carcasses? Only God. Not Abram. Abram simply sat and watched. Remember when God did the surgery on Adam? Adam had no part in that. God noticed he needed a helpmate. Let me carve out a rib. Give him a helpmate. There you go. You're welcome. God did the same thing with Abram. I'm going to make a promise to you. My word. Okay? And Abram trusted. And there, we stop there for Genesis 15. How about that? I think it's exciting. I hope you find it exciting. There's blood, some gore, and a whole bunch of promises by the sovereign King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We have children, descendants, as numerous as the stars in the sky. And we have land, and it's clear where that land is. And then we have fortune telling, God telling the future. Abram, trust me, you're going to die a ripe old age. If somebody told you that, like, oh, okay, no concerns, got it. Not like I'll be trying to walk through fire or doing anything daring or scary, but God told me I'm going to live to a ripe old age, so good. I'm straight. I'll just keep going. Like, what's the worry? Who's going to kill me? God, sovereign Lord, has all of this under control. Can you trust God like that? I hope so. I know I'm still working to do that. Not working in my own might, but I've got this amazing Holy Spirit that continues to guide me and instruct me and comfort me and show me so much grace and mercy. I hope you're enjoying reading through the Bible with me. Until next time.